earthquake, wildfire, flood, influenza, epidemic, terrorism. In California, a crisis or emergency can occur at any moment. Conflicting or inaccurate information can transform a serious but manageable crisis into a catastrophe. Research has shown that in a crisis, people take in information differently, process information differently, and act on information differently. During an emergency, people may decide to do things that in the long run do not benefit the individual, the family, or the community as a whole. These could include making demands for unneeded treatment, engaging in disorganized group behavior such as stealing or looting, or conducting acts of bribery, fraud, or reliance on special relationships. Communication, even under normal circumstances, is a broad science and an imperfect art. In an emergency, communication is different and becomes even more critical in the effort to minimize harmful behaviors and contribute to a successful emergency response. Application of established crisis and emergency risk communication principles will assist to reduce or prevent illness, injury, and possible death as individuals and communities work to return to normal. Your role in the public information section under the Incident Command System is vitally important and will help to empower the public to understand options and make responsible choices for the good of all. You are about to see how public communication is handled during an emergency response, both internally and externally. Responsible for both is the PIO section, the Public Information Office, and the staff that works in it. This video is divided into two parts. Part 1 is for everyone who works in an emergency response so they can understand the function of the PIO section. Part 2 is for those who will actually perform public information duties and need to know PIO protocols. Today, emergency response communication has changed. The public now sees it as the most crucial factor affecting them during a critical event, often with the whole world watching.
Communications is the most important aspect in a response.
Chances are you've already seen the work of public information officers on television, heard it on radio, or read it online or in print.
In an event, the public information section is highly critical and has a role to play really regardless of what kind of emergency response you're undertaking.
Their job is to gather information, start organizing that information for output into the community. At the same time, they're also gathering information what's happening in the community so that they can get that to the people who are leading operations and planning and incident command.
The work of the Public Information Office depends on and affects everyone because the PIO serves as the primary conduit of communication.
They need to let the public know what the department or the county, the responding agency knows, what the responding agency does not yet know, and provide action steps for the public to take.
We sort of underestimate those things, and in an event, public information is critical. Information is critical. It's a matter of getting the information in, the intelligence and the background information in, the information gathering, as well as the evaluation of all the information and then getting it out in a meaningful and helpful manner that's going to be effective and efficient for all the partners, internal and external.
This is why a consistent message is so important. The easiest way to lose public support and confidence is to provide conflicting information. The solution is following the chain of command.
There is a chain of command within the emergency response effort, and the incident commander is the one in charge of all of the operations. The incident commander will bring together his or her section chiefs, including the lead person in your PIO section. The incident commander is the person who will make all final decisions. This includes any messaging that the public information section is developing.
Whatever your role in an emergency, you're part of this communications process. But if you aren't on the PIO staff, this usually means limiting your conversation to essential emergency support information. Remember that while you're busy doing your job, the PIO team is crafting messages at the direction of Incident Command.
You really have a large network of staff working behind the scenes in order to make the communication on the event to the public very smooth and to appear very simple.
At the same time that the PIO is crafting outgoing public messages, they're also working to keep you and other responders informed about command decisions and the public's reaction.
Internal communication is just as important, and staff who are working in a public information section are also going to be monitoring the activities that are happening in the other sections. So they might be sitting in a briefing so that they understand what's happening in the planning section, in the operations section, and that they can make sure that information is flowing both up to the incident command as well as down through the various operational sections.
In order to coordinate all this information, larger emergencies will activate a Joint Information Center, or JIC.
The Joint Information Center, or the JIC, gives public information staff the opportunity to meet together to craft coordinated messages so that the community gets one message, a simple message, something that's actionable and empowering.
Remember that the media may also be reporting on an emergency. All media access should be approved through the PIO and the incident commander. And whenever media is working inside an incident response, they must be with a PIO media coordinator who will make sure that they abide by all the rules.
It's very important when you have your PIO members in the outlying pod areas or pod clinics, is to make sure that you've established areas where the media can go. So you really need to make sure you control the media in those locations. Keep constant communication with your lead PIO at the main office.
Whether you're on duty or off, unless you are specifically assigned the role of spokesperson, you should never speak to the media. Not just because it's departmental policy, but more importantly because confusing information can actually cost lives. And clarity is already difficult enough in an emergency.
Spokespersons will be identified who are the individuals who will be speaking to the media before the public on the particulars of the emergency response. The public information section's job is to create the messaging that the spokesperson will deliver.
Emergency or risk communication has evolved significantly in recent years. While you may not be a designated spokesperson, it's important that you understand the policies and protocol of your agency's public information effort. A well-informed public will take action that benefits individuals, family, and the community. Well-crafted messages contain these components. 1. Expression of empathy. 2. Clarifying facts. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. 3. What we don't know. 4. A process to get answers. 5. A statement of commitment. 6. Resources. And 7. A call to action.
Giving the public the knowledge and the information they need to make the best and most well-informed decision.
Know the parameters of your role. Understand that the sections are interdependent. Command, operations, planning, and finance administration. The Public Information Office works under command. You should always work within the chain of command. This ends part 1 of the PIO training module. What follows is meant for those working directly with or in the public information section. The Public Information section is organized as part of the Incident Command System using standard ICS roles. Like other units, some roles can be performed with just-in-time training, while others require more training and experience. If you are with the PIO team or find yourself assigned to the PIO section, you'll have an important responsibility.
If you really need strong people in your PIO section that know what they're doing, know how to put simple messages together, and know how to get the word out. If things are handled correctly in the PIO section, you're going to build up trust in your community, build up trust among your partners.
Your mission is to prevent problems through good communication.
The function of the public information section really is to make sure that communication flows in a couple of different directions. So the staff who are working in the public information section are creating information, creating messages that will satisfy the need to guide the public in the event of an emergency. So those messages need to be simple, they need to be clear, and they need to be actionable.
We'll talk about messages in a moment, but first, let's review the staff functions. The California Crisis and Emergency Risk Communications CIRC Toolkit identifies 6 PIO roles, which, depending on the event, may require part-time attention or an entire team to accomplish.
PIO is definitely more than one person. You need more than one person, especially when you're trying to gather information and collecting information and organizing all your thoughts and strategies together so that you can prepare your spokespersons to be able to respond to the media and the community.
The Public Information Section Chief is the person in charge of this unit.
It is a challenging role. It requires flexibility, patience, determinedness. I mean, it is a very challenging role because you're getting pressure from lots of different areas. Not only are you having to deal with the media, you're also dealing with internal communications as well as everybody wanting information.
It's important to note that the role of spokesperson is not on this list.
Oftentimes the health officer is a principal spokesperson for day-to-day events or operations of the public health department. In an emergency event, that may change. So your public health officer could be the incident commander, and other individuals may be identified as the spokespersons. Conversely, other individuals actually may take lead as incident commander, and your public health officer could serve as your principal spokesperson for this emergency event.
Other PIO roles might include a content and messages coordinator who collates, organizes, and sometimes translates reams of incoming information and research into public information. A media coordinator can effectively meet and greet media representatives and supervise their visits.
Make sure that you've established areas where the media can go. You don't want to have media be able to walk around wherever they want to go. Keep constant communication with your lead PIO at the main office.
A direct public outreach coordinator can address the community through phone lines, email public service announcements, the internet, and through social media.
You may also have staff who are creating venues for communication. So, for example, website, Twitter, Facebook, electronic messaging is just as important as giving an interview to a television reporter or a radio reporter or a print reporter.
A partner stakeholder coordinator can handle similar needs that arise on an internal basis, relating to community partners and organizations.
One of the most important things that can be a job of the Public Information Office is to communicate with other public information representatives from other organizations who are your partners in an emergency response. So they could be hospitals, other healthcare providers, it could be businesses, it could be a full range of community organizations that really need to have the information that you have in regards to this emergency response. So your information will be just as important for them so that they know what they need to be doing both for their organization as well as for the clients that they serve. So your information again has to be accurate, it needs to be simple, it needs to be actionable.
A coordinator for rumor control can be at the ready to spot any inaccurate or incomplete information as it appears in internal or external communication.
You may also have staff who are monitoring information that's out there. So you would have staff who are actually tracking news reports on television, radio, and websites so that they can determine who's saying what in regards to your emergency messaging. And if there's misinformation being discussed through, say, a television interview, one of the jobs of the public information section would be to try to get information out there to correct that misinformation as quickly as possible.
When you're asked to work in a PIO section or you're asked to work in the PIO office, just trying to do a good job, being flexible, remaining open to whatever you're asked to do. Sometimes you might be asked to do something you don't quite understand why you're doing it, but in the bigger picture it all fits in.
For instance, media monitoring contributes to the overall accuracy of information provided to the public.
One of the most important jobs of staff in a public information section is to watch the news, to listen to the news, to monitor what is being put out there on the internet in regards to your emergency response situation. So there can be information that is accurate and important that you need to know and feed back through your communication chain of command. There could be misinformation that you need to know so that it could be corrected at the first available opportunity.
It's a high-stakes feedback loop where unpredictable variables happen constantly. As the public and media have become more technologically sophisticated, so have the tools of the Public Information Office. In addition to the news release, internal tools such as message maps, talking point templates, and call center scripts may be employed. And news conferences are just one of several outreach methods, including website postings, social media outlets, blogs, texting, and even live video chatting. The Fresno County Department of Public Health uses the STARK principle to craft and deliver messages. STARK stands for simple, timely, accurate, relevant, credible, and consistent.
Your job, again, is to craft messages that are understandable, that are accurate, and that are actionable. Messages that are guiding the public on how to respond to the emergency event. It is very important that whatever you are crafting for public dissemination be reviewed through the chain of command by the incident commander.
You should expect that you're going to get a lot of information quickly. You're going to have to gather and get an understanding of what information is coming in. You have to be able to have skills to monitor all communications going on in the county, especially among media, be it on the internet, TV, radio, or social media. So you need to make sure you can do brief messages to the point that will be relayed to the community and partners.
In emergencies where all types of media are active, the need for a Joint Information Center, or JIC, is increased. The JIC operates like a lieutenant to the Incident Command, focused solely on communication. While the Incident Command team coordinates resources and materials to respond, the JIC coordinates information.
A Joint Information Center will bring together public information staff from various organizations in your community to work together in regards to coordinated messaging.
So it's important that the chiefs are working closely with the PIOs, that they're on the same page as the PIOs of what messages are going out, what messages are coming in, how to work together to get the right messages out.
The JIC also typically includes liaison officers working with the PIO under the incident commander.
The liaison function typically is to be the contact person for, say, state agencies or other organizations that need to reach the Incident Command Center. It's very important that the Public Information Section and the individual or individuals who are working as liaisons are communicating together.
Messages are prioritized into different categories. The 4 levels of communication start with just basic information.
For health information, you might be creating a communication that simply provides information on the event. There's no action steps to be taken. There's nothing necessary to follow that release of that health information.
After information, the second level of communication is an update. As the level increases, so does the official significance of the message.
A health update might follow health information by providing additional information or current information on the event itself.
An advisory is issued when action on the part of the public may be necessary.
A health advisory will actually give you the opportunity to not only provide information, but also provide resources or places where the recipient can go for more information or steps that might need to be taken.
A health alert conveys information of the highest priority, which warrant immediate action or attention.
A health alert is the highest level. It provides actionable steps.
To review, the 4 levels of communication are information, update, advisory, and alert. It's very important that the public understands not only the message, but also its priority.
There's also the reaction from the public, or the reaction from local politicians, or the reaction from other partners in the community that you need to be aware of, because it can very much influence what your next set of messages might be.
Now we know the different functions in a PIO section and the different levels of communication. So who is that on TV giving the latest information from the Incident Command Center?
Many of us are familiar with the Public Information Officer designation. We hear that the Public Information Officer from this organization made a comment today about a situation. However, in an emergency response setting, the public information section is not always the actual spokespersons for the emergency response event. Frequently, spokespersons will be identified who are the individuals who will be speaking to the media before the public on the particulars of the emergency response. The public information section's job is to create the messaging that the spokesperson will deliver.
A spokesperson often steps up to the media microphones when the incident commander is busy with other responsibilities, but that's not always the case.
Oftentimes the health officer is a principal spokesperson for day-to-day events or operations of the public health department. In an emergency event, that may change. So your public health officer could be the incident commander, and other individuals may be identified as the spokespersons. Conversely, other individuals actually may take lead as incident commander, and your public health officer could serve as your principal spokesperson for this emergency event.
If it's ever your turn to step in front of the cameras, a few basic tips are helpful.
I'll always tell you, don't be stiff. Show empathy. Nothing wrong with saying, I don't know. Be honest, be straightforward. Get to know your media. I think that's very important. Get to know the reporters.
A few more do's and don'ts. Do keep it short. No more than a few simple messages in 1 or 2 sentences that can be easily repeated. Know your organization's policies about the release of information. Stay within the scope of your responsibilities unless you are authorized to speak for the entire organization or a higher headquarters. Don't answer questions that are not within the scope of your organizational responsibility. And tell the truth. Be as open as possible. And watch your words at all times. In a news conference, live microphones surround you even when the cameras aren't rolling. If you let slip the wrong sentence, someone, somewhere, could be listening. We've covered the responsibilities of a public information section, the role of the staff, the chain of command that governs it, and the types of communication it deals with, both internal and external. All of these areas employ certain principles of risk communication. The Fresno County Department of Public Health thanks you for watching this presentation. Advanced training for station leaders, command staff, and individual ICS sections is available in other training modules. Your participation and continued training for public health disasters helps ensure that we're all as ready as we can be when our coworkers and our communities need us. For more information on setting up a PIO, contact the Fresno County Department of Public Health. Brought to you by Fresno County Department of Public Health and Applied Creative Training.